can you repeat what you just said? And he said, yes, you have stage 1 prostate cancer. And my immediate reaction to him, Stephanie, was, wow. This is exactly what I said. You knew that I had prostate cancer and you were going to let me take that sheet of paper home and like figure that out on my own? Like, I want Black men and men in general, honestly, to know that they can be an advocate for themselves, you know, that it's okay. Like, you can say, no, I don't agree with this, or no, you know, like, you have a voice, because at the end of the day, you are the patient. I have a twin brother. I'm a family man. I have 2 daughters. I've been married 18 years. We've been married 16 years. I was a teacher for many years, worked in the education space. I still work in the higher education space as an instructor. I'm passionate about reading and writing, but since being diagnosed with prostate cancer, my focus has shifted, and I've just become super passionate about spreading awareness and advocating for more awareness. It's certainly in the Black community, because, you know, as a Black man, I feel that if I had certain things, you know, on the awareness side, then my journey could have looked a little bit different.
I love it. And thank you for what you do. That's incredible. We're definitely going to dive into all that, but let's rewind back to 2018. There's a period of time where you're trying to figure out what's going on. You went in for what would be treated as a prostate infection, but what were those first? Did you have symptoms that led you to that? What happened?
So just to give you a little bit of backstory, in 2017, I got a job promotion. I was living in Houston. I'm from Houston, lived in Houston my whole life, aside from college. But I moved to Austin for a job. Packed my whole family up, we moved. That was 2017. In 2018 was when we finally got around to like, okay, we're settled, like we need to find a doctor. Because prior to moving to Austin, I can say, you know, the key here is that I went to the doctor every year. So it's not like I never went to the doctor. I was accustomed to going to at least, at minimum, my annual wellness visit, right? So a little backstory on the doctor, my primary care physician. She's actually my mother and father-in-law. My wife is from Austin. So my in-laws live here, and they recommended this primary care physician because they've been her patients for like 15 to 20 years. So she came highly recommended. My wife and I couldn't get in, like we kept calling the front desk to try to get an appointment. They were booked up, like she's amazing. So my mother-in-law said, hey, I'm going to text her, and I'm just going to say, hey, I'm trying to get my son-in-law and my daughter in. And the doctor responded and was like, you tell the front desk that I said, like, make it work, right? That's how I arrived at this doctor, because this is key for me. So I met with this doctor, my very first visit. Of course, she needs to know family history. At that time, the only family history I knew was that my aunt, my mom's only sister, had been just weeks before diagnosed with breast cancer. And my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, had recently died of stage 4 lung cancer, breast cancer that metastasized to her lungs. So that's what I knew, right? So that's what I provided, you know? So this was just an annual physical. So she did blood work. But unbeknownst to me, in that blood work panel, she also, you know, tested my PSA levels. So when the blood work came back, everything was great, but she noted, I'm concerned about your PSA levels. And Stephanie, that was the first time I ever heard the word. I actually had to Google, what is that? You know what I mean? Because you got to remember, I was just going for a check, like my annual physical, and to establish this relationship. I had no symptoms at all, not one. I was healthy, very healthy, you know, young. And so I Googled it, and I never got alarmed, Stephanie, because I didn't have symptoms. So I always felt like, oh, well, whatever the concern is, like, it'll be ruled out because I feel great. And I would have thought that if I had cancer, that I would have like been able to sense it. So anyway, she told me, I want to put you on an antibiotic for a month. She said, because she initially thought it was prostatitis, which is a prostate infection. And so I said, okay, great. So I did the antibiotics for 30 days. She retested my PSA. She said, oh, I'm not satisfied. It came down a little, but not enough. I want to put you on an antibiotic for another 30 days. So I did that, the 30-day round again. And then after that 30 days, when she tested my PSA, the levels had gone up higher than they were initially. And so at that point, she said, oh, I think we should send you to a urologist so that they can, have a further look. And I just did everything she told me to do. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I went to the urologist that she referred me to. They did a biopsy, and a week later, I found out. At that time, they told me it was stage 1 prostate cancer, but we ended up finding out after surgery that it was an aggressive stage 2.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing all of that. That was a lot that you had gone through in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
So first, rewinding back to the doctor, I just want to understand what makes that doctor so good. She knew, of course, to test for the PSA because was there like just more understanding, like the rapport? What makes her so great?
What makes her so great for me, certainly that my family, like, she comes highly recommended and they love her. So that helps me feel more comfortable, right? But my own personal, that first time that I ever met her, I felt like I've known this lady forever. She's intentional about being present and like really listening and engaging, talking to me about, other things, the school system, just getting to know me and not making me feel like I'm one more, because we know doctors are busy, right? But I've been to so many doctors where I feel like it's no time to connect, and so that's what's made her so special for me, because I call her my guardian angel. Essentially, she's the person that diagnosed, she's the reason that we're here, because I can almost bet that if I hadn't met this doctor, there was no reason for me to get this PSA test, Tiffany. I wasn't of age, right? And I had no symptoms. So it's like nothing but God. And I always tell people, I used to think that I moved to Austin for a promotion, but I really think I moved to Austin to save my life. Because like I said, Stephanie, I was going to the doctor every year in Houston. Nobody ever. And I asked her once I was diagnosed, like the night I found out my diagnosis, I called her and I said, hey, I just wanted to update you. It's cancer. And she said, let's pray. And we prayed right then. She's not a Black doctor. She's a white woman. Some people might assume maybe that was a cultural. No, she's a white one. This is like, I call her mom, honestly. I call her mom. she 100% gives me that energy. And and I asked her, I said, what made you test my PSA levels? Like, what made you do that? And she said, well, I've just been noticing in the like about 5 years prior to my diagnosis that younger and younger men are being diagnosed. What she said was that because she noticed that younger and younger men were being diagnosed, and men of color, that it couldn't hurt, right? Which is true. It couldn't hurt to do the test. If you did the test and it's fine, then it's fine. So that was, but I also assumed that me telling her about breast cancer on my mom's side and my dad's side may have just helped to make that decision.
Right. There's something there extra to kind of push that. Now that you have, I'd love to understand, up until that point, had you thought about prostate cancer? Did you know anything about PSA? You said you didn't know anything about PSA. You hadn't thought about that, right?
I never thought anything. I'm sure I saw a commercial or something, but I've never, a personal connection, never. I don't know that I even knew anyone who had prostate cancer besides maybe someone on TV or something like that. That I'm aware of. And this just goes into, and I can only speak for the Black culture, like, we don't discuss family history. We really don't discuss things at all, but we certainly don't discuss family history because, I found out after I had surgery, after my prostate was removed and I was back at work, I was on the phone with my dad's only living brother and found out that my dad's only living brother had prostate cancer 5 years before me. Yeah. And my parents actually knew that he had it and they knew I had it. But even at the point that they found out I had it, they still didn't tell me that he. So that goes into all that also goes into why I choose to be such a big mouth about it, because it's like we're just not doing ourselves any favor. Like this is not helping to move the needle forward by us keeping it to ourselves. Like it has to stop being such a taboo thing, you know?
Can you shine some light on that for everybody in terms of why is it taboo to talk about that?
Well, I think because men just don't like to talk about the stuff, period, right? Like we don't, men, I'm just speaking for men. Men are not crazy about going to the doctor, you know, and this is a disease that affects men, you know? So I think specifically for prostate cancer, I think that would be one of the leading reasons why it's like you know, for most men, they feel like, you know, it makes them less of a man, or like they just don't feel comfortable sharing it. You know, I mean, I've met so many men who I know they have prostate cancer because I had it, but if I didn't have it, they probably would have never told me that, you know? Um, and so I just try to speak out for all of them, because at the end of the day, nothing's more authentic than an actual patient experience. Like doctors can get on here and they can say all the amazing words, but I'm just telling you, like as a human being, like listen, no one told me about this. You know, if they had, I'm sure, because for me, because I was going to the doctor. Like it's not like that's a separate issue for some men, because some men refuse. Like even if a man knows something's going on, some men won't go to the doctor. But I was going to the doctor, and so for me, if I was aware of that health history, then I could have been advocating for it well before, when this doctor just chose to do it. Because I mean, I just always know, like, if I didn't meet this doctor, I can almost guess how things would have turned out. You know, I would have still been going to the doctor, right? But no one would have chose to check it. And so it would have lied dormant until stage 3 or 4. So I'm so grateful for the way it happened. And I have to do the work and, you know, kind of be boots on the ground, grassroots, because my life is essentially been spared.
Yeah, it is so powerful, honestly, Michael, to hear you talk about this. And what I'm hearing also is, you know, a few different things, but really, one that it takes someone to be vulnerable first, to open up first, you know, for that conversation
Yes.
to even happen. And another thing is you can hope that you luck out and find a doctor like yours, but who wants to take that
Yes.
chance, right?
And that's why I'm here, just because you might not get a doctor. I mean, the truth is, most doctors aren't going to be screening for this until you're 40, you know. And I would I tell men all the time that I run into that are about my age, like, it doesn't hurt you can go in there and you can tell the doctor that you would like to have this blood test, you know. And then also another thing is, a real barrier is because a lot of men still, it's this thing, it's this macho thing about like, well, I don't want anybody, you know, the whole DRE, the digital rectal exam, like men just don't. And so, you know, I'm trying to make sure men understand also too, like, first of all, if you have to get that done, like, you just need to do it. It's for your life. You know what I mean? But with advance in technology, like that's not the first option now. The first option is the blood test. And obviously, if the blood test reveals something, then that will be probably the next step, but that's not the first option. So I try to make sure men know that, because that really, it seems minor, it seems like kind of trivial, but that's like, I promise you that a lot of men won't go to the doctor for that reason. And I've heard that so many times.
Thank you. Thank you for going into that. So it was 2018 when you had first gone to your doctor and the antibiotics were being given. And then the biopsy. Can you describe the biopsy, what that process is? People can only get freaked out, right?
Well, so the thing is, just to show you how naive, like I was just aloof. I mean, I didn't even, before this, the only surgery I've ever had was, I had to have a lymph node removed, like when I was in college, like from my left, my left side of my chest. That's like the only surgery I ever had. Like, so I heard the urologist when they said I needed to have a biopsy, but I really didn't really understand what that was until I was there, like, and it was happening, and I was just like, this is awful, you know. And it was, so the biopsy, yeah, they biopsied portions of my prostate. I can't remember how many pieces they took. I want to say maybe 4 or 5. And then based upon that, that's how they were able to determine, from those pieces that they took, they were able to see that cancer was present. And like I said, at that time, it was said that it was stage 1. But we later realized, once I guess they dissected my prostate after surgery, that it was an aggressive stage 2.
Yeah. And so let's stay here at the biopsy portion. How long did it take for you to learn that it was in fact prostate cancer?
It was like 7 days, 7 days from the time I had the biopsy to the time. But the thing is, Stephanie, I don't know. I don't know if it was God like keeping me sane, but I genuinely went through all of that from the time that I met that first primary care physician all the way up to the results. That whole time in between, I never ever got rattled. I never wondered, ooh, could it be? Just because I consistently felt great. I felt good. So I felt like, well, and I feel like I'm pretty in tune with my body. I'm just like, if there was something going on, I would have had a symptom, right? But it wasn't until obviously after learning more about this disease that it presents itself in different ways, right? But in Black men, it can lie dormant but it can also be aggressive, which was exactly what happened to me. I had no symptoms, but my cancer was an aggressive form, which is something that's just, wow. I want to walk you through that whole day so that was the 7th day, the day that I knew that I needed to go back to the doctor to get my results, right? So keep in mind that prior to that day, I had already gone to this urologist twice. The first visit was the consultation, to talk to me about everything. And the second visit was the actual biopsy. So I called the doctor's office, and the lady who I spoke with, I had a sense that she was a Black woman. She just reminded me of like an aunt or something. And she was I explained to her, hey, I'm just getting results today. Like I'm, going to get, and keep in mind, Stephanie, I don't think I have cancer. So this is also leading the way I'm dealing with her. I'm like, I just need to pick up my results today. And I'm just trying to make sure I don't have a copay. And she's like, no, you shouldn't. She's like, you know what? This is what I'll do. This is what the lady tells me. She says, I'll just get your results. And then I'll send a request, like an inter office request for your results, and then they'll send them down to me. And she said, so call me back in an hour because I'll have them by then. I'm like, okay, cool. So in an hour, to the minute, I called. Like, oh, well, let me look. So she's like, oh, they haven't sent it yet. She's like, that's weird. I don't know why they haven't sent it. She's like, listen, I'm going to go up there and get it, and then I'm going to call you back. And I'm like, okay, cool. So she calls back, Stephanie. And she says, when she calls back, she says, hey, she says, I was just thinking, you should probably just come in. And then I said, oh, as soon as she said that, I just said, okay. And I got scared then. So that was that day at work. So then I came home that evening and I told my wife, we were actually driving to the urologist for that appointment. And I'm like, babe, I called earlier. I talked to a lady. I told her exactly what I just told you. I said, I was trying to make sure we shouldn't have to pay another copay. She's like, well, no, yeah, we shouldn't. I said, well, yeah. I said, the lady was supposed to just be getting me my results, but then she just told me I should just come in. I said, I don't know why. That just felt weird to me. That's what I told my wife. And that was the first time I got scared. We get to the urologist's office, we get to the front desk. You know how you tell them you're there, then they ask you to have a seat, and then you come back up. So when I walked back up, as I was approaching the counter, the lady says, okay, your copay for today is say $50. I don't remember what the amount was. And it's like my wife had on skates. It's like she skated right up to the counter, and she's like, I don't understand, why we would have to pay a copay. We're just getting result. Like that's all we're doing, like. The lady goes and comes back to the desk, Stephanie, with a piece of paper, and she slides a piece of paper under the little window. And and I think maybe my wife said, I looked at the sheet. I couldn't really, it was like graphs and charts. I couldn't really I don't know what it was. And she said, oh, that's your results. And my wife demanded that the urologist at least come and hand us the sheet of paper himself, And so the lady at the front desk walked away and then came back and she said, okay, the urologist said, he'll see you in a moment. So we sat in the lobby for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then a nurse came and got us and took us to a waiting room. And we waited there for about 10 more minutes. And then he walked in. It was me, my wife, and my daughters were with us too. We were all together. So we were all in the room. My daughters were younger. So he came in, Stephanie, and he's talking, and I don't know if it was so traumatic that my mind just deleted it, because I completely never heard him say it. One reason I knew he must have said something bad was because my wife was crying. So I looked at her and I'm like, what did I miss? And I'm like, can you repeat what you just said? And he said, yes, you have stage 1 prostate cancer. And my immediate reaction to him, Stephanie, was, wow. This is exactly what I said. You knew that I had prostate cancer and you were going to let me take that sheet of paper home and like figure that out on my own. I mean, I knew right then that on this journey that wouldn't be my urologist. So, he turned, he was very embarrassed, like he just was trying to explain it away. And he's like, I see so many patients every day. And, right before I came in here with you, I was seeing another patient and he was crying on the floor and people I mean, it's terrible. So I just came home that night. I called my primary care because she's the one that referred me to him. And I said, hey, this is not going to work. I have cancer, so I'm going to have to, I can't. So she referred me to a new urologist. This all goes into I think I'm more savvy in that space, right? Because I've been going to the doctor, right? So I immediately know, I'm not going to be able to work with this urologist. I'm also going to make sure I file a complaint with the Board of Urology. These are things, certainly people in my community they're not going to know those type of things. Some people in my community would actually still stay with that doctor just because they feel like, well, I don't have any choice and blah, 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 blah. So I left that urologist. He's in the rearview mirror, met with a new urologist. Okay. My wife came with me to meet with the new urologist. He said he was in a little rolling chair and he rolled it right up in my face and he's talking to me, looking me right in the eye. And he's just talking to me. The energy was just so tense. He needed to leave the room to get some paperwork. And as soon as he walked out of the room, me and my wife looked at each other and we were like, that's him. It just was for me, this is going to have to be somebody that they're going to know me in an intimate way. I want to feel comfortable with them. You know what I mean? And so that goes along with why I speak out too. I want Black men and men in general, honestly, to know that they can be an advocate for themselves, that it's okay. You can say, no, I don't agree with this, or no, you have a voice, because at the end of the day, you are the patient, And so, I mean, that's pretty much the story with the way I was diagnosed.
I also really appreciate that message of advocacy, right? A lot of people still, and it's generational, it's cultural, there's a combination of both, or it's doctor knows best. I don't want to ask stupid questions. They know what they're doing. I mean, do you have any last thing just to say to people about, look, this is your life, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the most humble way that I can say it, I sit here today, again, I wasn't able to go in and advocate for prostate cancer necessarily. I did go to the doctor annually. Had I known about prostate cancer, I am sure that I would have. But I just want to tell you, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do for yourself is go to the doctor. You have reasons to be around, whatever they are, whether it's family or kids or job. You have a reason to live, and you have a reason to live your best life. Early detection is the way that you can ensure that you have the best quality of life. You know what I mean? I know that if my cancer wasn't found as early as it was, my reality wouldn't be what it is now. I go many days without even realizing that I had prostate cancer. And I think that's just a testament to early detection, certainly, because the cancer was able to be contained still. And so early detection starts with going to the doctor. You've got to go to the doctor. You got to move past those feelings of not being comfortable at doctors' offices. At the end of the day, no one knows you better than you do. And so, your best bet is to go into the doctor and speak up. If you feel something's going on, then make sure you tell the doctor about it. But even if you don't, I would advise all men, it's nothing wrong with going in and requesting a PSA test.